Welcome everyone to the Gaming Codex, the show where I try to explain to you all the myriad and endless numbers of terms used to describe video games and the video gaming industry. Today's term is a very important one. It is publisher or games publisher, to distinguish between other publishers and, well, game publishers. So what exactly is a publisher? Well, according to the dictionary, it's a company or person engaged in publishing periodicals, books, music, etc. To expand that, or not expand, but focus that on just a video game publisher, then a video game publisher is a company that publishes video games that they have either developed internally or externally through a video game developer. We should probably settle what exactly publishing a game or anything in general means. The act of publishing is taking a work, creative work usually, a video game in our case, and then bringing it to the market with all the associated steps and measures that need to be taken. It's not just putting it on sale in one store and hoping it sells. No, publishing also requires building up a brand, marketing that brand, making sure everybody knows about it, interfacing with the press, bringing it to shows like E3 and all sorts of other stuff, negotiating with various stores to actually sell the game, and that's just at the tail end of it. That's just when the game is ready, when it's shippable, when it's done. A game publisher does so much more than just that. Video game publishers are responsible for the continued growth and development of video games. They fund the development of many games. They either try and make their own games using their internal studios, or they contract a different studio to make their games. For example, Fallout 3 was made by Bethesda themselves. Fallout New Vegas was made by Obsidian, but published by Bethesda. And you know how that turned out for Obsidian. Other times, publishers will get pitches from different studios and they will accept some of them and give that studio funding to actually produce the game they wanted to. But this comes with a few extra measures. For example, they don't just throw a sack of money at the developer and that's that. No, they give the developer certain milestones. By this date, have the engine working. By this date, have this amount of content in the game. By this date, have it playable to this amount of hours or something. And when the developer gets to those milestones, they will receive a piece of the money. And at the end, they receive the rest of it, all of it, what's left of it. And as the game goes on to sell, they will receive royalties from the sales. Not all the money from the sales, but part of it, because the publisher does need to recoup its losses from investing in the game and actually turn a profit on that game. The publisher will also most times get the property itself. They will own that game, so if anybody wants to make a sequel or any sort of merchandise based on that game, they need the go-ahead from the publisher, even if it's the developers themselves. They do this because, well, let's say sometimes the game flops and they don't really make back their money based on sales. They may still try and do some merchandising. They may still hold on to the IP to do something else with it in the future. They may sell it off. Or if it's actually successful, holding on to it will be a big boost to their value. Now, what would be the popular definition of a video game publisher? Well, that would be an evil company that does evil things to poor developers, to poor, hard-working developers. Now, this image for publishers was generally created by companies like Electronic Arts, who historically have done shady things, bad things. They've closed numerous studios that were, up until being bought out by them, quite creative, quite successful in some ways. They put out good games, interesting games, and then when they became part of the big EA family, they got destroyed. And then there were some revelations like the EA spouse letter, which sort of revealed how employees were treated like slave labor almost. And then we have more recent incidents like the Konami one or the Bethesda incident where Obsidian was denied extra payments, bonuses for New Vegas because the game was 1 point short on Metacritic in terms of review scores. 1 point. Basically, someone that didn't like the game cost Obsidian millions. So just one person giving it a lower score, I don't know, because they don't like Fallout or something, cost Obsidian millions. And that's not actually correctly speaking. Bethesda could have just given them the money because they saw it was just 1 point short, the game was well received all around, and they did about as well as they could have done considering it was made in what? Barely 2 years. When you learn about things like these, you sort of understand where publishers get a bum rap, where things like Kickstarter, circumventing completely the concept of the publisher, just took off because, well, you could have with something like Kickstarter, a game that is launched when it's ready, not when the publisher wants to, because the publisher just wanted now a quick buck before Christmas and not an excellent game when it was done. There's countless examples of games being rushed because the publisher just wanted it out the door now, or being cancelled completely because the publisher just had no faith in it, which is a very bizarre metric. An incredibly bizarre. XCOM. The first XCOM was initially cancelled because the publisher, well, Spectrum Holobyte, had no faith in the game. Thankfully, it was still kind of being developed on the low down without their knowledge, which was a good thing because now it's a multi-million-dollar franchise. Now, what is the marketing definition of a game publisher? Well, that would be we own the game, we paid for the game, we'll keep the game. You have to understand that making video games is a business. Its objective is to make money through video games, otherwise we'd all probably just be selling crack. Then again, there are some games that are just that. So you can sort of understand the position of a video game publisher too when it imposes certain restriction upon a developer, upon a game, upon even the community, where they can't make mods, where they can't make certain things with the property like fan games or sometimes even like cinema. You can understand that they will try everything they can to protect their investment, so they will continually be able to sustain themselves based on that property. It's not so they can be evil, it's because, well, laws, like copyright laws, force them to do very, very unpleasant stuff to just keep a hold of their IP. Also, some of them are complete bastards, but that's a whole other matter. So closes this chapter in the Gaming Codex. Come back next time when we will discuss a different term. Goodbye.